Introducing Tony and Other People, a podcast. Here's your host, Tony Levesque.
Mayor Donna Smith.
Yes, Tony Levesque.
You got it right.
With no S.
No, there's an S, but it's not pronounced. Right.
Is that French or what?
Very French. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
You like French fries?
I love French fries.
There you go.
Are there any other kind of fries?
You like French toast?
French toast, yep.
Have you ever had cream cheese stuffed French toast?
Yes.
That is
From
my kid's
Jeb's.
favorite.
Whenever we go out to breakfast, which isn't very often, we either go to Gary's or Jeb's.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go to Jeb's, it's always the stuffed French toast. There's nothing else. But
yep, that's the go-to weekend meal in our house.
is it?
And the kids...
Oh, you make it at home.
Yeah, we make it at home.
Nice.
Listen, taking a family of 6 out to eat is a chore and a half to start with. Yeah. So you don't really...
and breakfast
we
can
don't
be
do that
expensive
too often.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cereal's super cheap. Well,
We're more of a dinner family, I think, if we go out.
Yeah.
Nobody's organized in the morning. Just gotta roll with the punches. And I can make French toast in my pajamas. I don't have to get dressed and shower before I go out.
Right.
I can shower when I'm done and
that is the hardest part.
Wash all the smell off of me and
it's being presentable to go out for breakfast.
Yeah.
So you end up like 11 o'clock.
Kinda.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have?
4.
4. Whoa. How's that?
We have a senior,
okay,
10th grader, 6th grader, 7th grader, and 6th grader. I am officially done with elementary school.
Nice.
And I am so excited to have 2 school calendars to keep track of.
Right.
And we are moving up, and they are going to move out.
That's got to be exciting, but scary at the same time, too.
Yes and no. I love, so, you know, when kids are like 2 or 3 or 4, it's so much fun because they see the world around them. Like 18 months to probably 2.5, I think was my husband and I's favorite stages. Mm-hmm. Other than the baby stage where you can just snuggle them and kiss them forever and they have no idea what's going on.
That's a lot of work, though. It
is a lot of work. Yeah. Depending on how much they cry. Some were more work than others. But, you know, it's also more fun now because you can have adult conversations with them.
Right.
Like my daughter, so we're redoing her bedroom. It's almost complete, thank God. And, excuse me, I was cleaning something and she said, I don't know how to do that. And I looked at her, I said, excuse me? She's 16, going to be 17 in September. Mm-hmm. And she said, I've never done that before. And I cannot remember what it was we were cleaning, but it required a rag, a bucket of Pine Sol, and just go wipe this down. And she seriously looked at me and she kept saying that over and over. And I said, well, then it's time you learn, because in 1 year you're out of my house. And if I come visit you and your house is a disaster, you're going to be in some serious trouble because that's not the way I raised you.
Right.
You know? So it's exciting that they have an idea. My older 2 have an idea of what they want to do for their careers. And in April, I took my daughter to Rochester and Buffalo on a 4-day 7 college visit.
Ooh.
Extravaganza. And ironically, you know, moms and daughters don't always get along or see eye to eye. Corey's usually the buffer with that. And we agreed on almost every college that we went to.
That's great.
So yeah, so it's, you know, it's kind of exciting though too, because she knows what she wants to do and she's driven and she's filling out her college common application currently, and you know, she's ready to take that leap. Obviously, I'm sure I will cry.
Oh, sure.
For a while when she's not home. And she's not a good one for talking on the phone, so we'll have to see how that goes. But it's exciting all at the same time. That maybe I've done a good job so far with at least 1 out of 4, and
We'll see on the rest.
we'll see on the rest. No, I think that's a parent's. I don't know. That it's not only a success for them; it's a success for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly am not raising my kids to not contribute back to society.
Right.
So they plan to contribute back to society.
That's great.
So yeah,
that's good.
We'll see how it goes.
It's got to be. I'm only 4 years into parenthood, but it's got to be just a weird stage of life watching the kids no longer be kids. I mean, they'll always be kids to you, but to society, they're becoming adults, and they never will be in your eyes. I'm sure they're always going to be your little ones.
I tell you, they'll always be your baby.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's funny how your kids can come from the exact same mold, because my husband and I they're both of our children, and we've been married for almost 19 years. Amen. They're all so unique and different.
Mm-hmm.
So what worked with the first one doesn't necessarily work with the second one,
mm-hmm.
and doesn't work with the third one, and doesn't work with the fourth one.
Right.
So it's a little interesting at times, because you do what you did, what you did before, but you have to modify it,
right,
and make it a little unique.
All right, now that I'm professional and shut my
right
ringtone off.
That's right. I didn't even bring my phone in. Forget the thing.
Well, I didn't either, but normally I keep these doors closed and I can't hear if my phone goes off, but
that's funny.
It's too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't complain about the heat.
No. It's just so muggy.
Yeah.
We're not used to this in upstate New York.
We're never
it's
prepared
nice during
for
the
it.
day and cooler at night, and doesn't even really feel like it's really cooled down at night.
Right.
It's just hot all the time.
Yeah. And it seems like once your house gets hot, it's impossible to cool it down.
It almost makes you want to move further north. For the summer?
Well, no, I can tolerate this. I remember what the winters are. Although where we are is kind of a unique area for winter. Even further north, they don't get it as bad as we do, but the side of Tug Hill is just...
It's the lakes.
It's insane.
We're surrounded by the lakes. That's
We're
what
in
gets
that
us.
sweet spot of not very sweet.
But it can be sweet.
Right.
It is pretty.
Yeah.
When you're inside and you don't have anywhere
I
you
love
have
winter,
to go.
November and December. By January, I am over it.
Yeah, February I'm pretty all set.
Yeah. And then come March and April when it's still snowing.
Yeah.
Sometimes May.
This year we went on a cruise. My in-laws had their 50th wedding anniversary, and we got off the cruise from the Caribbean, and it was snowing outside when we came home, and we just looked at each other like we thought this would be gone by the time we got back.
At least you got a little break from it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sun does wonders.
Yeah.
Vitamin D.
It's tough in February, come March, when winter's just dragging on. You don't have a whole lot of sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to get depressed.
I think so. Someone told me that they're taking, I think it was vitamin D and vitamin E supplements,
Mm-hmm.
and that helped immensely. And I feel as I get older, I get crankier.
Mm-hmm.
So might have to try that this winter and see if I'm a happier camper.
See if it helps. When I used to work the night shift, I had to sleep all day, and so when I went into work, it was dark out, and when I came out of work, it was dark out. And
So
you
how
have
did
to
you
sleep at
do
some
that?
point. So I'd get a couple hours of sunlight and tried to, as much as I could, be outside for it, which sucks because it's cold. But yeah, it was a rough couple years on that shift. Plus, it was a 12-hour shift. So on the weekends, I would work. Well, I would work Monday through Thursday, and then on the weekends try to reverse my sleep schedule enough to enjoy the sunlight. And then,
the family.
Yeah. Well, this was before my family, but living the bachelor life, it didn't make it any easier, But
Well, then you have to switch your internal clock again to go back.
every single week, twice. So
Yeah, that's not healthy.
in order
for
to
people.
just stay mentally healthy.
Yeah. People who work the swing shift, they say that that's really tough on their bodies.
Yeah. My father-in-law does that, and I don't understand. He just seems like he's always tired, which I'm sure he is.
Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
Your body has no idea what's going on.
1 week working this shift, the next week
Yeah.
a different. Yeah, when I work third shift, my days all ran together because you're on the next day or the day before, and
funny.
no clue.
Yeah.
I have that problem at work now because I'm doing the programming for the next day,
Right.
and I only work 5 days a week. So come Thursday, I have to do Friday and Saturday, and on Friday I do Saturday or Sunday and Monday.
Oh,
And
sugar.
it's all to do with dates and times and
Yep.
millions of numbers running
Get
through my
everything
head.
programmed in.
And yeah, so by the weekend, I'm so confused on what day, what date it is.
The worst is when you wake up in the morning. I do physical therapy work, and I cover 2 different school districts. I
Mhm.
do that part-time. And I start school at different schools, different days.
Mm.
And the worst is when I wake up in the morning and I thought I didn't leave early enough because I had to work at Harrisville, where I'm actually only in Copenhagen. So, even with just a switch schedule like that,
Mm-hmm. It's enough to
every
throw
once in
you
a
off.
while I wake up in a little bit of a panic of, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? And then just take a breath, finish waking up, and it'll be okay.
Those first moments of waking up can be crazy. I know last week I was on
Mhm.
vacation and we were in a tent 4 days.
Nice.
So, well, yeah. The first
Let the
day,
sunlight comes in.
we brought the air mattress and apparently not the air pump. So we said, we'll try the ground. And yeah, first thing in the morning, we went to Walmart and
Bought
got
a
an
pump.
air pump. Oh, it was awful. But when you're camping and you wake up, it's so foreign, especially in a tent. It's just
Right.
kind of a weird place for people to be anyway. And I remember the first couple seconds of waking up, just freaking out. Where am I? Oh, I got to go to work. No, I don't have to go to work.
Yep.
And this was my first vacation in 10 years, a real vacation. So
Wow.
it was weird. I made a lot of calls
Did
and
you get
texts
used
into
to
work.
it though?
Yeah, towards the end of it, it was nice, but I mean, obviously nice having time off from work and more time with your family.
Absolutely.
But today, I was ready to go back to work. I was
Yeah.
ready to contribute to society again.
Isn't that funny? And I find myself, having been the mayor for over 7 years now, it seems that poop hits the fan whenever you don't really want it to and you just need time away.
Mm-hmm.
But I've finally trained myself to, I only check my phone if I have a day off and I really need a day off, or I
Mhm.
need to focus on something for me and my family so that I feel productive, not in the village and not as a physical therapist, but as a wife and a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just ignore my cell phone. I turn the volume off and I check maybe once or twice a day. I see if there's an emergency. If there's not, I put it back down.
Mhm.
I just keep going about my business and I'll take care of it another time. That can be a good thing or a bad thing, because then it's always kind of on your mind of what you have to do. But at the same time, it gives you your time away that you really, everybody needs some time away.
Mm-hmm.
Collect their thoughts, organize their life, feel productive in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you ever get solitude, just you, time away?
no, I kind of had like a little mini meltdown probably, let's say a year and a half ago. And I called my husband and told him I'm going on a hike and this is where I'm going and I'm taking the dogs with me and I'm not sure when I'll be back, but I just need to go and get away. And he said, okay, because that's not quite our style.
Right.
But it was, if the bugs weren't there, it would have been the perfect little hike and walk. The stinking flies and mosquitoes just kept pestering me, but it was
Nobody
nice because
leaves you alone.
right? But I could sing some, it sounds funny, but I sang some hymns in the middle of the woods and, did a little thinking and didn't get lost. I didn't get to where I thought I was going to get to, but I didn't get lost and didn't lose either of the dogs. So came home later and I just kind of felt a little refocused and a little refreshed. But time alone is not, I'm not a, that's something I really need to focus on, is doing stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hard. Not that there's a difference between a father and a mother, but men and women are different.
Mm-hmm.
And
I hate that they try to,
you know,
maybe we'll go into that later.
but women do, you know, if I'm not doing something, or I'm not cleaning the house, or, you know, I even watch my favorite shows, whether it's TV or Netflix, which we don't watch anything regularly. But if I have a show on, I almost always have a laundry basket beside me that I'm folding, you know, and I might get done folding the laundry basket and just sit back for the last 15, 20 minutes of the show. And, you know, where I pause it and go get the next load, because in our house, it's a
Constant cycle.
yeah, they don't get a break, unfortunately. So that's something that I really need to focus on, is whether it's just, I'm sure if I even just took a walk or a jog or did a Zumba, or I love yoga, but it's never calm enough around my house for me to sit down and do yoga.
Right.
Because you either have the dog pawing you, or the kids, you know, running through and asking you questions. And so I don't know, someday I'll get there. I crave that day where I can, you know, just kind of zone out and relax a little bit. One thing I've found that I can do, I've read some very interesting books. Probably not a lot, but every once in a while I get in a little mood and I just say I'm going to start a book. And Irina's Children was very interesting, about a woman during I'm going to call it the war with Hitler and the Nazis. And, you know, she was Polish, German descent, and she actually ended up saving thousands of children from being ushered off to the concentration camps. And, you know, she hid them and rehomed them with fake birth certificates in homes because she was a social worker. That was an amazing read. I just recently finished, maybe in the last year. I'd never read The Diary of Anne Frank. I've always wanted to. And I got to read that. So that's kind of been my little my time. Or spraying, it sounds funny, but spraying the weeds on the corner. Yeah. That's my time, because it's something that I do for me.
When I worked at the coffee shop, I'd always see you out there messing with that garden, and it looks great. It
does. It looks amazing. But that's, you know, that was one thing. One time I was weed whacking somewhere in the village, and my husband was not impressed that that's what I was doing. And there are other people who can do that. And I explained that that was just something I felt I needed to do, and that was my time. You know, don't take how I felt so accomplished at the end of that. Like I had volunteered. Yes, I used our equipment and our gas, but I don't care. It felt so good to do that. And he just did not understand. And I finally said, well, that was my time. That's what I chose to do. And you just took it away from me, you know?
But that's why you're the mayor.
So,
because
I know.
You care.
I do.
That's got to be a
but at the same
horrible
time,
job.
You know, you can't do it all yourself.
Right.
You know, it's not a bad job. I have less than 8 months left in my position, and I do not plan to run for re-election. I really need to return to a mom and a wife and physical therapist, so that I'm not constantly switching hats all the time.
You don't think you're going to constantly worry and still try to do everything?
No, I will still, well, and this summer of 2015, my family and I packed our RV up and we drove to Alaska and back. And it was the most amazing, we were 3 days shy of 2 months, the most amazing experience of my life.
Most of it in Canada?
No, actually, probably only a week and a half of that was in Canada.
Okay, so
We went across the U.S. South Dakota has tons of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother-in-law lives in Idaho,
Okay.
as does my cousin. So we made a little bit extra, a little longer stay there, and went through Canada. But we went into Skagway first, and then we came back in through Canada and up. But a lot of our trip was not in Canada. We really did a lot in the northern states on the way across. We took our kids to a rodeo in Cody, Wyoming,
Mm-hmm.
which was a lot of fun. Trying to think what we did in North Dakota. We went to the Badlands and Custer State Park and Mount Rushmore. Crazy Horse Monument is really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And but then our kids were kind of, I'm going to call it museumed out.
Right.
So then we had to do some fun stuff. We went to Hot Springs, South Dakota has an actual mammoth dig site where they're recovering mammoth bones.
Really?
That was a pretty cool experience. We did some kid stuff too. So even we went to Yellowstone, and after the second, I don't know what they're called, the hot pools of water. What are they? The geysers are the things that shoot up, and then they have just these.
Like a hot spring?
Maybe they're geysers. I don't know, but you can't go in them.
Oh.
You can't touch them.
Okay.
But after the second or third one of those, they were pretty all set.
Yeah.
But the bison were really neat to see, and we saw, excuse me, a mama bear and her two cubs, and just some really fun. We saw a lynx. I didn't even know that a lynx existed.
Mm-hmm.
In our travels. We saw, it was amazing. Every day was a new adventure. And it wasn't always planned, what our next specific stop was going to be. We had from point to point,
Mm-hmm.
but we just did whatever we wanted to in between,
Right. That's awesome.
So that was awesome. So this summer is our last summer with our daughter at home. Technically, she'll have graduated, and we're going to go cross country to California and back.
Very cool.
So yeah. So
Are you going to go
I'm
across?
gonna need help weeding the corner this summer.
So we'll put a PSA out there. Anyone
Right.
looking to
Help
get
out.
their hands dirty.
I give you all my supplies. You just need to keep it under control. But
It does look very nice over there, and I don't see a lot of people sitting on those benches. If I had more time, that's what I'd do.
yeah, it's funny because somebody was parked. They were sitting on a bench one day. Their wife was in at the doctor's office, and he said, I pulled up and I was doing something. I don't remember what, but I said, well, is it in the right spot? And he looked at me and he said, excuse me? I said, the bench. Do you think it's in the right spot? Because, we just put the corner together. I'm just wondering, what you think. I see you sitting here. And he said, oh, yeah. He goes, I think this is wonderful. He said, we live out in the country and just came into town. My wife has an appointment. And I thought, well, while she's in there, I'll sit out here and I'm watching traffic and,
Mm-hmm.
people are walking by, and I think it's wonderful. So I think in the middle of the summer, it's not quite as used. There are people who sit a little bit more in the evenings, I've
Mhm.
noticed.
Okay.
And maybe in the springy or fall where it's a little cooler, I think more people would use it.
It is kind of out in the open there, and the
It
trees
is.
aren't done growing. So
They're not quite giving enough shade quite yet to
Right.
make it but it'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
A few more years,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll see. But yeah.
I like that Lowville has benches all over the place.
Yeah, that was originally when I first came into office. Mary Young's had started that grant with Snowbelt, and I can't remember what the name of the grant was, which is awful of me. But the Lowville benches, the garbage cans, the recycle bins, and the flower planters that are essentially considered self-watering because there's an extra reservoir that holds water in the bottom. So
Right.
even if they're not watered that day, they're still receiving some moisture back into the soil. But all those came geez, probably I ordered them, but the grant had already started. So 2012, maybe that summer is when we got those, or 11. So they've held up very well,
Right.
you know.
I think the town has been a lot cleaner since having the garbage and recycling all over the place.
I think so. And you know what else my mom actually mentioned to me, because obviously she's come up to visit occasionally, and when we did that construction project, that really kind of gave us a whole fresh look
Right.
throughout our entire downtown. And I think, you know, I call it the trickle down effect. Like even when we first planted the planters, you know, and the first summer, everybody just thought, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. And then you see more businesses with their own flowers out front. It's
Right.
that trickle down effect that I really love to see.
Well, I think
That's the fun thing.
stuff like that adds pride in your community, and you think, wow, this looks great. What can I do to
Absolutely.
make this happen too?
Yeah, or what can I do to add to this? You
Right.
know, somebody's made an effort,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully people will just keep moving along the same path, you know.
Right. Are you afraid of that with leaving the job? That the person that comes in next, I don't think you're probably worried about them you know, slacking or whatever, but maintaining what you've done and to continue.
You know, it's funny because everybody asks who's going to be the next mayor, because you know it's been an honor, first of all, being the mayor. Obviously I have a lot of passion for my community. And everybody says, well, who's going to be next? And I say, I don't know and I don't care.
Yeah.
My husband actually said the other day, you have to stop saying that. Because no, we don't know, but I know that you do care. You know, but I guess what I mean is it's not going to be me, and someone else is going to have to step up.
Right.
But with this last term, we've had a lot going on, which I think that's really exhausted me. I do know that my husband loves me because he has tolerated. I feel like I was kind of a dementia patient for about 9 months, where I would honestly walk in the door at, I don't even know what time it was, and say, what can I do to help around here? Because I was so overwhelmed with all of my thoughts and what I had absorbed that day, or a meeting that I just had that, you know, either went well or didn't go well, and what's the next step, you know, and I'm trying to constantly be putting the pieces together to keep moving forward, and also struggling to do that in a positive way, you know, and to keep conversation positive, even when people are ready to strangle each other. We all feel the same way, but that's not going to help matters any.
Right.
So, you know, this term, we have 2 more informational signs to go on the corner, and a thing around like stonework around the flagpole. So that will be finished. Another one of my goals is to finish the welcome signs to Lava.
Okay.
And we just got a grant for the informational signs and the welcome signs. And Lava Lions Club is offering to help offset any additional costs.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're very excited about that. So those are kind of my babies this term, I guess I would say. And we essentially have an infrastructure project that is going to take place on 5 main streets throughout the village, which I think really needs to be done. We have a lot of old clay tile in our streets, and really needs to be replaced. Some of it may be 100 years old. And we have a lot of leaking during rainy weather.
Right.
A lot of leaking that comes in through our pipes. This shouldn't be in our pipes to be treated at the sewer plant. So this is going to create storm drainage. It's going to replace the old yucky sewer pipes. And while we're in there and digging up 3/4 of the street, you may as well replace the water lines that are there.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether they're broken or old, it makes no sense to put a street back together
Right.
without replacing
With old
this last
parts.
little bit of infrastructure. So that project should be starting up this fall, well, late summer, fall. And that is going to be a 2 more summers.
Mhm.
So it's slated to be a 3-year project. So the next mayor who comes in, that's already off and running,
Mhm.
We're just dotting our I's and crossing our T's with what we need to do legally through the village for that project to get started. And we did receive grant money for that through Empire Facilities Corporation, which is very helpful. And then the other thing is we really need to upgrade our sewer treatment plant. May not be as huge of a project as we thought it was going to be, because our largest contributor, which is corporate, put in a pre-treatment system on their site to come to our sewer treatment plant. So we're not getting as high strength waste as we thought
Right.
we were going to originally get. But we still need to do something for a phase 2, we call it, because we've already increased aeration to handle a larger capacity on a daily basis. So that essentially, we're currently in the engineering stages, and I really think that that project is probably going to be started maybe a year or 2 from now.
Right.
So the next, and it sounds funny to say this, but the next mayor coming in really just has to keep the ball rolling,
Right. Which is kind of always the thing, right?
Absolutely. Or just being willing to start a project.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they can't do other things, because there's a lot of other things to do, but also, you take into the general fund budget or the water and sewer fund budget, and you have to work. You have certain constraints that you have to work in, but at the same time, not saying that it's ever easy, because you're still answering phone calls and I usually go in with an agenda of things that I need to get done in the village office. I'm there one day a week is my obligation to myself to do my best. And sometimes I walk in the door and put out fires and didn't get to anything that was on my list. That can be a little frustrating. But I think that the next person who's coming in to the village as the mayor, I want to write a wanted ad actually for the newspaper. I was thinking about this the other day, and I'll probably do it when there are 6 months left of me in office. It's someone that has to be positive. You have to be able to calm people down and stay calm yourself, which is not always the easiest thing to do. You have to be passionate, obviously, about your community. You have to be a good communicator. And and I'm not saying that I'm perfect at any or all of these things, but there are so many naysayers sometimes that you have to be the one to politely stop it and change, curve that whole conversation. Because if you start a board meeting with negativity, the entire meeting,
It's a rabbit hole.
and 3 hours of negativity is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I know there were a few times where I looked at my husband and said, okay, I have 24 months left or 22 months left. Can we do this? Can we make it? Because he's sacrificed a lot as well.
Right. Probably your
I've
whole
just-
family.
Oh, my children also. Yeah. I've missed many concerts and many games and different things, because of my obligation, and they understand it. They don't usually give me any crap about it, but when I wanted to run for re-election, I polled my children at the dinner table and I said, I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to say yes or no. And I want you to say it right away. I don't want you to say, wait until anybody else, And I said, so my term is almost up as mayor, and I want to know, should I run again? And immediately both of my girls said yes, and both of my boys said no.
Ooh.
So it was a complete split vote in the household. And I looked at my husband and I said, well, you didn't vote. And he said, well, are you finished? And I said, no, I want to take care of that corner. And he said, then I think you need to run again, and there have been, it's added stress to our home life, our relationship, but, we work very well together, and he's a very patient man. And, I hope to someday be able to pay him back. I know that it's coming my way, that's karma. And I just hope that I'm strong enough to pay him back the way that he's, with the gift that he's given me, with patience and love and tolerance. And, I just, sometimes we take it one day at a time. Sometimes we take it 1 week at a time. But I think no matter what you're doing in life, that's a relationship.
Yeah. If you don't go through the bad times, then you don't
appreciate the good times. Right. And, and sometimes it's a 50-50 relationship, and sometimes it's 110 and negative 20. And then, it should reverse at some point. So sometime, it's going to need to reverse at some point. But he's certainly done his part and been very, very faithful and very supportive. And I think that's great for our kids to see as well. And sometimes I wonder if I do too much in the village, if I volunteer too much, or if I, I'll make my kids go pull weeds for every year. We're never here for Memorial Day. We always go up to my husband's family camp. And one of the things that we do is, as a family, a couple days before that, we go up and we pull all the weeds around the monument there in front of the Presbyterian church, just because I know it needs to be done. And we're not going to be there, and this can be our personal dedication to the veterans,
right.
or those, who we remember, who've given lives, wherever they may be. And they always kind of moan and groan about it, but at the same time, when they're done, man, that looks awesome. And I take them out for ice cream or something afterwards. Right. That's their little reward. But at the same time, I'm very involved in the Cream Cheese Festival.
Right.
Well, not last year, or the year before. I can't remember what it was. My son, who's my second child, I was taking too long at home getting all of my stuff loaded up to go down to the Cream Cheese Festival to set up with my events. And he finally just looked at me and goes, "You're taking too long. I'm just going to ride my bike." And he was out the door and out of my driveway at 6:30 in the morning.
To go and help.
And my daughter, she always helps me with the events. She's 16, and she honestly could probably run the events the last 2 years all by herself. But I say to her, which events do you want off to go walk around and eat lunch? And she looked at me, she goes, "Well, you're not taking lunch." I said, "I understand that, but you need to take a lunch." And that was her only reply was, "Well, you're not taking a lunch. You're not taking a break. Why should I get a break?"
Right.
So it's nice to see that, even though I'm afraid sometimes that I push them too hard, or that we do too much volunteering. We've cleaned toilets for a week at the fair for the Little League. And this year we didn't get a phone call to go clean toilets, which we would have. But the kids are all looking at me. They go, "Well, which day are we doing the fair? Which day are we doing toilets?" And I said, "Well, they didn't ask." And we were gone Friday and Saturday for a family event. And I said, "So I don't think we're doing it this year. We're just helping out, the other things that we'd already obligated to help out with." And they just kind of look like, "What do you mean?" So I guess when you find your little niche, you just kind of stick with it, and it's not, out of the ordinary for them to be asked to do something.
Right.
I don't know.
Just becomes normal.
Yeah. They
so you're
realize
raising them right, then.
everybody needs to help out, and I wish that more people would take, I always say 2 hours a year, and just do something positive throughout their community, in their church, or, with a kids program or something. And if people would, if people would radiate positive stuff, let's say on News Junkie, or, on Facebook or Snapchat, or, if
topics.
Oh gosh, I don't even go on those sites because it's such
either.
negative stuff, and I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I wish that more people would not have time for that, and just.
And it seems to pile on too when you get involved with the negative stuff. Then you tend to look for that or get going down a rabbit hole. I remember when I first started at the radio station, I would constantly keyword search my name on topics, just because I was afraid somebody would say I'm doing an awful job. And after a while of that, I couldn't stand to read it.
Yeah,
because there's not a positive thing on there, and if there is, somebody will bash it forever.
Well, and that's the thing. When we had our first water crisis in the village, it lasted almost 2 months, right? So there was a ton of negative stuff.
Well, nobody has all the information either.
But do you know how many of those people showed up at a board meeting?
Oh, sure.
So they could ask their questions and get honest, true answers, and know what was going on. And if they were so concerned, they should have called me and asked me questions. Right. But no, they would rather, spread around negative stuff, or even just these little jabs here and there, and it's just not necessary. It's quite ridiculous.
I find that those people that do that have nothing going on.
Well, and
they're
they
bored.
can find something.
They could.
Absolutely.
That's their thing.
You can volunteer at the food pantry. You can help out at the thrifty shopper in town. They are always looking for volunteers.
There's events in this town all the time they can use.
Yeah, join the Cream Cheese Festival committee.
Yeah.
Help out at the fair. Join the Firemen's Auxiliary. There are so many things for people. Heck, this sounds a little crazy, but go to church on Sunday and help out with Stone Soup dinners.
Yeah.
Or
if you don't have the time, donate some money.
Absolutely. $10.
Yeah.
It might sound like a little bit, but it all adds up in the end.
And when it's local and it's staying here, then you're participating.
Absolutely.
Rather than just reaping the rewards of everyone else's hard work.
Local, that's one thing about the North Country. Local money does stay local. There's so much support and love in this community. It's absolutely crazy.
I love going to the farmers market on Saturday because you can see that in everyone's faces.
Yeah, and I make myself, like I said earlier, I love my pajamas. And to go to the farmers market on a Saturday morning, I have to get out of my pajamas. I am so not good at that. But there are a couple times a year where I make myself, okay, at least change out of your pajamas. Let's go. And it's a wonderful, wonderful event. And so many people there, so many people growing local stuff or handmade, items. And I don't know.
And it's great. It's not like here's a little bit of this or that. It's the best you can find around.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to get involved in an organization, you just walk down the road with a garbage bag.
Sure.
Pick up trash.
Yeah.
There's so much positive stuff that you can do in a community that I don't know why people are so negative, especially when we're so blessed with where we live,
Yeah, this is amazing.
It's a safe place. It's a beautiful place. Wonderful people. People smile. That's something that people who aren't from here always say. People are so friendly here. The architecture in Laville is gorgeous. It's just, I don't know.
That's one thing I get weirded out when I go and I say the city to like Syracuse or Utica, and which are not cities compared to, what we have closer or as close. But walking in those places, and I'm the type of guy that every person I pass on the sidewalk, I'll nod or say hello. That's just how I was raised, and I think most of the people in this area are. But when you go to the city, you can sense that coldness because
It's
you look at
different.
somebody and they're like, why are you looking at me?
Right?
You know, but up here it's,
Yeah,
you know,
we were talking about that the other day. Can't remember exactly what specific topic it was, but you know, if you lived in a city, let's say maybe it was a cancer benefit that just happened over the weekend. You know, if you lived in the city, nobody knows you and nobody cares. But here in the North Country, everybody knows everybody and everybody cares.
right.
You know, or they know a person who knows that person, so that makes you care.
Right.
You know, it's that trickle down effect.
We've
you
been
know?
a lot of times looking for something to do on a Saturday. Oh, there's a benefit over here. Well, we don't know those people, but we'll go and, I mean, the Chinese auction or throw some money in the 50-50, get chicken barbecue, and
You eat a meal and it was for a good cause.
right. And just going to those things is
Yeah.
great because you get to see the community coming together or families coming together and smiling over something that's awful.
That's a
You know?
struggle.
Right. Somebody is hurting or struggling, and
But at the same time, they're all there together and they're going to make it through it.
right. We're all going to suffer
You know,
a
whether
little
it was
to
a
help your
loss or
suffering
someone
less.
who's very sick or someone who's recovered, you know, and but still has medical bills to pay. It doesn't matter because, you know, and that's life, ups and downs of life.
Mhm.
And there's nothing, you know, nothing wrong with that. And I think it just, people, I don't know.
Well, working at the radio station, I get to see a lot of that with the benefits. We do the community events and everything, and it always amazes me whenever there's a house fire, and we'll put a thing up on the community events. B-Train will talk about it, make a news story, and donation for food and clothes. And almost every time it's ever happened, the day after, we'll get phone calls like, "We're good for donations. Don't ask for anything more. We've got it." And it's like 24 hours the community comes together and
Isn't that crazy?
just restocks whole families,
Yeah.
everything
Well,
they can.
We were even going through, we have, you save stuff. I don't know why we do this. Probably because we have space to do it. But, you know, you have pots and pans that there's really nothing wrong with them, but we decided to go to cast iron pans, you know, or I had an extra set of two or three extra sets of silverware from our wedding. Well, that's great. And they're perfect sets, so I'm not going to get rid of them. Well, we've gotten rid of them over the years, or my kids are going to go to college someday, or they're going to move out of the house someday, and I don't want to have to buy everything new for them, and they shouldn't have to buy everything new, you know?
Right.
So you save stuff that's completely in the box in perfect condition. There was one time where they were giving away towels or something at Tops Market with so many points. Well, a family of 6, we have a lot of points. And so my husband kept coming home with these towels. We didn't need those towels. So when they've been sitting in my attic though, you know, just in case something came along and
Right.
needed towels. Well, the Chamber of Commerce did that, the Christmas thing where they were collecting all of whether it's bedspreads or shampoos or I don't even know exactly what it was with the YAC there, the Youth Advisory Council. They were collecting all of these goods for, I don't know whether it was homeless or people in need. And so I took all of these brand new towels that were never opened because we don't need them at my house, but they've been at my house,
Right.
you know,
Doing nobody any good.
right. Let's get rid of them before something chews through the plastic and
Right.
they become moth material or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, with a 4-year-old, the toys that we have are just constantly phasing out because, as you know, with kids, they're never into the same thing for very long. We took a bunch down to the food pantry, and I didn't realize you could do that, and somebody had told me.
Perfect.
And bags upon bags of toys.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, we could have sold them in a garage sale for 25 cents a piece.
That's a lot of work.
We've been talking about having a garage sale since we've been here. And I think, honestly, I'm going to take everything I would sell in a garage sale and just find some place to donate it because
Lions Club will come pick it up. They do a garage sale every year. That's part of how they paid to do the corner for their fundraising project. And they make out pretty well, and they donate a lot of money towards eye appointments and glasses for people. They do a lot with sight, but they have donated, I want to say, $4,000 or $5,000 a year to local people who needed assistance with some kind of vision something. So
great.
if you call them, they will even come and pick it up in a truck.
Really?
True story. Not kidding you.
I know what I'm doing after this.
Yep. Yep. You know, but there's always some way. One thing that we do is if there are stuffed animals that my kids aren't using anymore, or those McDonald's toys that weren't even opened out of the bag, just because my youngest son actually looked at me not too long ago and said, you know, I don't think I ever got a Happy Meal, because by the time he was the youngest and moving through that stage, we were all on 12-piece chicken nuggets or two burgers or, you know, the meal deal.
Yeah.
I don't know that he really ever did get Happy Meals. So there was maybe a 6-month stage not too long ago where if we happened to go to McDonald's, which isn't very often, we ordered him a Happy Meal. Even though he eats a 10-piece chicken nugget, he wanted the prize inside, you know, or the games on the outside of the box or whatever. So we take our stuff to church, and we have Operation Christmas Child every year.
Right.
So we always include small toys, a stuffed animal, and whatever else. And my kids, we have a bag hanging in our mudroom of things that are clean to get rid of, that don't look used. And we just keep taking stuff to church. And by the time Christmas time comes around, or October, November, whenever we do the boxes, we already have a pretty good stash going of what we don't need to purchase to go in the boxes. So, yeah. Too much stuff. Need to unclutter my life.
Quick too.
Oh gosh. I said I'll never move because I told my kids I'm gonna die in this house because I'm not moving everything out of here, and 2, have fun doing it.
Right.
Because I'm not.
My wife and I rented up until 2 years ago, so we've been renting for, we rented for 7 or 8 years anyway. 3 or 4 different places. And I was so happy to move in here when we bought the house. I'm never, ever moving again. I don't care. This house could be rotting around us.
But it's a good way to go through life every couple of years and get rid of what you really don't need.
Except we've got those
totes
in
19 years
that have been moving with us that we should probably open up and get rid of.
They say 3 years. If you haven't missed it in 3 years, you should get rid of it.
My mom sealed up the attic in her house that I've lived in, you know, all my childhood, and they got all the stuff out of the attic and gave me, I think, 3 or 4 totes of stuff from my childhood.
That's
all
different
of my
stuff. That's different stuff.
Toys, and I still have my Ninja Turtles and
hilarious.
And all of my awards from elementary school on up.
Gosh.
But they're sitting in my attic in the same totes.
Yeah. So when your daughter graduates elementary school, you can go through them with her and say, look what I did.
But you know what? We're not going to have that for the next generation because it'll be Facebook.
Absolutely.
You can just go online and see what your kid was doing 20 years ago.
I still have files for all of my kids. I'm about 2 years behind filing, but I got smart finally, and I started writing the date at the bottom, the name of the kid that it came home from and the date, so that at least when I go back through to put it in whatever grade level that was, hopefully it'll be faster. I'll just have to write down on a piece of paper to keep everybody straight of what year they were in what grade.
Right.
So that I know where to file it at. But there are some things, like if they write a story about a family member or their sibling, or you know, when they were little, anything that came home with a handprint and a footprint on it, I always saved it. But I am not good at we go for the kids' physicals, and they always say, well, they're this, we wrote all this down for you. Here, you can take it home. Because, you know, a good mom would take it home and write it in their baby book.
Sure.
What the date is and what their weight and height is. I finally said to them, I don't need this. I said, because what I'm going to do is when they're 18, I'm going to call you and you're going to print me out the whole first 18 years of their life. And I'm just going to hand it to them and say, here you go, sweetheart.
Right.
These are your vaccinations. This is what your height and weight was. You guys have it all documented. I don't need to do the same thing.
I'll tell you who's making money is the people that make those books, because everyone gets one for every child, and
They're
most
cute,
of them
though.
aren't. Yeah, they are.
If you do them.
See, my wife's great about stuff like that. She does writes the date on the bottom of the pictures that Penelope
Yeah.
draws.
My first one,
I'm
my first
not
child,
organized.
I was very good about that. But after that, it was just complete chaos.
Oh, you've got 4.
Wasn't very good.
I can't keep up with 1.
Have another one.
No, I'm good. Everyone keeps telling us that. I'm good.
Really?
Yeah, I think the wife would like to have another,
Oh,
but
she needs to have somebody to play with.
I feel like we've got this far. Why would
She
we want
shouldn't
to
have
start
to
over
take care
again?
of you when you're old. She shouldn't have to be the only one to care for you.
Right.
She
And I'm
need-
9 years older, so
she needs someone to give
she
her a
will definitely
break.
be. Right.
Not awful.
Well, some of my family is, I don't want to say upset, but it's kind of weird because my dad was one of 4 kids,
Okay.
and there was only one girl. My uncle doesn't have any kids. My other uncle has an adopted child. And my brother and I are the last namesake of that branch of the family. And Levesque is already not very common. It's very... And my brother has a daughter, and I have a
And
daughter.
you have a daughter.
And I think I'm done, and I think he's done. So that's the end of the name.
Oh.
So it's sad, but not sad enough to rearrange my entire existence to have
you don't
another
think
one.
so?
No. I'm good.
They're so cute.
I mean, if another one came along, sure, that's what happens. But
But you don't wish
I
for
would
it.
prefer, I like where I'm at. I always tell people the same thing. When you win the lottery, why play anymore?
I know.
So
Well, after I had our first child, I said, I'm never doing that again. My husband finally said, you will get tired of playing with her.
mhm.
And I said, then you better hurry up, because I was so sick. Oh my gosh. And then I ended up having 3 more. So must not have been that bad.
Everyone always tells us the same thing too, like, oh, you'll have a child for the other kid to play with. Yeah, but there's an opposite to that too. You'll have another child for that kid to fight with.
Yeah.
And then you become a referee.
Builds character.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. It is
There's
fun
no-
when my kids are
there's no
giggling
wrong
and
way to do
laughing
it.
together and having their little powwows our house is such a zoo. Even sometimes on the weekends they call it, let's have a sleepover, where they'll 2 or 3 of them will try to shove into one single bed together or into a double bed together, and they giggle and they laugh, and usually some of them end up going back to their own bed because they're all tornadoes, so they just don't have enough space. But it is funny because a lot of times we would say go up to bed, and we would go upstairs and nobody was in the right bed. They were all mixed up everywhere, all over the place. And so there's a benefit, I think, to having more financially. Whatever, you just figure it out.
Well, you have kids,
We
period.
we
you're
love
broke.
thrift stores.
Right.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you can deal with being broke.
They're not lacking anything they don't need.
Right.
They're really spoiled, if you ask me, and I tell them that all the time. But I don't know. It is fun. My mom is one of 9.
Oh,
My dad is one of 3. And my mom, there's nothing like my mom's family. And Corey's mom is one of 5, and his dad is one of 4. So I don't know. Both of our mother's families are just amazing, fun-loving. I swear you could walk in the door after not hearing or seeing from you in 5 years and be a total mess and bruised up, and they would sit you down and feed you a meal and wash you up and start right where you left off. And that's what I hope my house is when.
that's family.
Absolutely. The others, though, you might walk in and they might say, where the hell you been? What happened to you? You know what I mean? Where it would be just the opposite at some of the other places, where
Right.
they would wonder, but they wouldn't say anything. Initially, they would start asking, but I don't think it would be. It's just such a different persona. I don't know. Different characters. But yeah.
Yeah.
So life is good.
That's good.
We're getting there little by little, one
Always
day at a
do.
time,
Mhm.
sometimes 1 week at a time. I hope that when I'm done being the mayor that people see the progress that I made. My daughter actually said to me the other day, it was right after the fair parade, because I've been scooping poop since I was the mayor. The first year as the mayor, I walked in the front of the parade, and I'm not really good at that. Just walking and waving and saying hello, and just, I don't know. I could be doing something. So finally I called up Doug Hanno the second year, and I said, Doug, I can walk in the parade, but is there anything I could do? Like, do you need help with something? Can I do something? And he said, well, I need help with something, but I'm not sure you want to do it. So I'll do anything. I don't care. What is it? I need someone to follow the horses. I said, absolutely. I'd love to. So I thought, well, that's, I would never ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much I wouldn't do.
That was perfect too. I remember the first time seeing that and saying, well, that's what a mayor is.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Cleans
used to
up
cleaning
all
up
the
the
messes.
crap,
Yeah.
right? So,
Dealing with stuff nobody else wants to deal with.
right. But I hope that people, and people this year through, I kind of put on my signs that this is my last year as the mayor. I plan to continue doing that because, one, they need help with it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it's not everybody's favorite thing to do, but I get to take that poop home and I put it right in my garden.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for me.
Right.
My mom grew up on a farm. That's where I spent my weekends. Everybody poops, So my oldest asked how I made out and what I thought, and did people say much? And there are a few people, who were, no, you can't. No, we didn't know this. You can't do that. You need to run again. And she said to me, everybody sees the good that you've done. Nobody sees the struggles that you've gone through to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Which my kids and my husband have definitely seen the struggles that I've gone through to get there. Some of my board members or the village employees, they certainly know. And my family, my mom, I've called her a few times, and but I just hope that people are happy with progress, and I hope that people remember to keep an open mind even when they think something isn't going the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And attend a board meeting. I know it sounds awful to say that, but if you have questions about what's going on, and my other pet peeve is when people come in and they just start yelling at you for making certain decisions when they haven't been there the last 9 months while you've been struggling through this and had 5-hour board meetings to try and figure stuff out.
Knowing that people are going to come in and do that.
Absolutely. And it's not anything that you don't let having the power to make decisions go to your head. That's not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I'm a pretty down to earth kind of girl. And, I would never treat anybody the way that I wouldn't want to be treated myself. And I hope that people remember the leaps that I've made while I was in office, and keep the ball rolling. You can't do it all by yourself either.
Right.
It takes a village. And I say that with raising my children as well as getting stuff done. And I hope that if someone sees my kid doing something wrong, they yell at them, because I'm not with them 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to know that this is not right. I don't think that happens as much as it used to.
Mm-hmm. There's a little fear behind it.
There should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think kids fear adults the way they used to. They shouldn't be deathly afraid of an adult, but they should fear the consequences coming from an adult.
Right.
or a respected elder,
Right.
or, whatever. But I don't know. I just think that life goes on, and it's time for me to move on, and I still will continue to make a difference in my community, whether I'm the mayor or not. That's how I got here in the first place.
Well, I don't think anyone doubts
I
that.
just wanted to make a difference, But I hope to focus on my family and even my church a little bit more, because that's something that's pulled me through my dark times, is the realization that I can pray anytime, anywhere. There are times where I would pray in the middle of a conference call. I pray in the middle of a board meeting. It's just, we kind of had an open conversation, open dialogue between me and whoever's up there. Just because I needed to do that to get through. And I hope that more people continue doing positive things in the community instead of negative things. I hope that more people are active Christians in the coming future. I think that's something that's very important in society. And I don't know. I hope that I'm able to live a happy, healthy life with my family.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank you.
This has been awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah.
This is enjoyable. Talking about whatever we decided to talk about.
Yeah.
I've never been short of words. My kids always say, Mom, you tell the longest stories. I'm like, well, I want you to see the detail. I want you to understand what I saw and what I was feeling. They just roll their eyes. So I just quit talking to them for a while.
They'll get it someday.
I don't know.
20 years from now, when they're listening to this, then they'll get it.
You think so?
Hope so.
I don't know. Well, thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Anything else you didn't ask that you really wanted to know? Burning question.
We'll save it for the next time.
All right, we can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Donna.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Tony and Other People, a podcast. Questions, comments, concerns for Tony's overall well-being? Want to be part of the show? Find us on Facebook or email us at tonyandotherpeople@gmail.com.